test for them. If we found that sensory neural deafness for those employees, how do we go further? I mean,
first thing is they have to be removed from that site.
okay.
Anything, any kind of hazard, whether it's
So we have found out many of the employees working in the DG generators develop sensory neural
they
deafness.
would develop because of
Yeah.
the noise levels.
Yeah, because.
First thing is they have to be removed from that area. They probably must be posted in quieter areas for some time. The thing is, it's the noise-induced hearing loss is irreversible. You cannot reverse it.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
they have to be posted in quieter areas. And anybody who is inducted into those new areas, new people who are inducted into those areas should have protections right from day one. Just not the hearing protection, the engineering controls and the admin controls. Job rotation is one of the important things. Okay, you can be only exposed to 90 decibels in an 8-hour period. Okay, usually in diesel generators area, it's like about 100 or even 110. Yes. So you can actually be only exposed to 2 hours in a day in a place like that. So you probably need 4 people in rotation so that they are in compliance. And then, of course, apart from that, you should be giving them ear plugs and ear muffs as well, which would cut down about 13 decibels down. If you put both of them, and you have the NRA rating, right? NRR rating. So NRR rating, you know the calculation, and it's not, if it says 30 decibels, it doesn't mean it is going to reduce 30 decibels. Okay, it would actually reduce only about 12 decibels or something. And if you add another ear muff with your ear plug, you can add another 4 more decibels. That is a max you can cut down. Okay, but there are like music the headphones that are available that cut down the background noise. That can be encouraged for people if they are going to be working there alone, and then they don't have to communicate with people. So that's the only thing. But people who already have to be definitely removed and put in quieter areas. Otherwise, it will further like it's downward spiral. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think if you remember what ma'am said in the beginning, when you're buying any instrument, make sure that it is, first of all, investing and make it church safe. Means you get soundproof generators. That's another thing which you'll have to look into when you're buying a generator, any other machines.
Nowadays, a lot of agencies who are working with the authorized certificate from the State Pollution Control Board itself. You need to find out from the Pollution Control Board, they are having these sorts of agencies and they are collecting all these things all together. That is a different problem, sir. I understand that one, but only through the agency you can dispose it. It is very difficult to have by any individual. It is not at all permitted. Yeah, I have heard some agencies who are working under Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board. You have to have the right contact to the member secretary for this. Ramke agency. Yes, Ramke agency. Mm. But that's why it's a big issue. Actually, State Pollution Control Board member secretary, we had a meeting on this issue. As I told you that on mercury and health, I'm working for WHO. We have to find out, but only through the State Pollution Control Board they have asked to dispose it. It's not any individual things. And now the problem is a little bit of sorted out because of the banning of mercury use in healthcare system, and particularly from the dental system, it is almost gone in most of the reputed hospitals and others. So mercury total content is less. It is even if it is stored, and if you are going for, please be said. So if you are storing these things and going for the mercury analysis, in our country the problem is to find out the proper instrumentation. Still I'm struggling for that. So the main important thing is have the store, and somehow you pressurize the State Pollution Control Board. It is your right, because you are not the person to dispose these things. It is their compliance, even under the government's state. They should do these things accordingly. So please request them, have the meeting if it is possible, and do this. Please don't do this by your own. It is having a huge impact. You know that all states of oxidation states and elemental mercuries are having huge impact on human being. So please take it wherever you are keeping now, please keep it for the time being in the enclosed container and discuss with the State Pollution Control Board to have the remedy. This is the only solution. And obviously, some role of National Institute of Occupational Health. We have this particular area. A lot of people there are working on the segment of the control part. So in this case, we can also contact to here in Tamil Nadu or South Indian zone, I think it's ROACS, Bangalore office, Regional Occupational Health Center, Bangalore. The in charge of that particular office, you can also contact for this particular case. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Well, the first thing, like I also mentioned there, is because of the non-maintenance of the HVAC systems. Any air conditioner also can become noisy if it's not maintained very well. So what we did was we removed it, okay, and then we had some noise barriers, like noise absorbing panels put up there, so that the noise levels reduced by about 12 decibels. And that it is not only because of the HVAC systems we had 68 decibels. It's because of the pages, it's because of the trolleys, it's because of the beeping and everything. And it varied throughout the day. We did hourly measurements and then it varied throughout the day. But the noise levels have gone down by 12 decibels now, and which is under the compliance limits. I personally think from our experience, we thought the best way is to actually maintain things very well. And especially in ICU and in neonate department, we need to be changing stuff. It's not like the general ward, they're much more sensitive, so we changed it. That's what we did. Did it answer your question? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is regarding like infectious disease in the workplace to Dr. Priscilla. We know that TB is a very major concern for all of us as healthcare workers, professionals. What are your suggestions to handle it? In the sense, how do we prevent it? What are the suggestions?
Okay, that's a very difficult question. Basically, because nobody has found a foolproof method of actually preventing tuberculosis in the workplace. Now, the most challenging setting is actually the outpatient setting. I think we have discussed it to death, but still haven't found a solution. So if you have a system where you're triaging, let me tell you what we do. What we do is actually, for us, our infectious diseases and medicine OPDs are actually the places where we get a maximum number of tuberculosis, open TB, basically, and pulmonary medicine. So these are the three places that we actually do find a lot of open cases of TB. Other cases, other units, it doesn't matter so much because they're not really contagious and really they don't transmit it to the healthcare worker or even to the other patients around. So we have a system where we triage and we just ask for a cough of more than 2 weeks. If the cough is more than 2 weeks and if you find a patient who's actually coughing, the person at the counter, the MRO counter, automatically gives the patient a mask and he will actually come and tell the doctor saying the cough is more than 2 weeks. And once the doctor sees it, you can actually quickly get a gene expert ready. Pulmonary medicine actually has a point of care test where they immediately test it over there. And then the patient, we have what we call as, we have an alert system on the clinical workstation where it says respiratory isolation. So each time the patient goes somewhere, it flags. So wherever he goes and they log in and put the patient's number, it flags saying respiratory isolation. So that patient is fast tracked. That is the only thing you can do. It's not a foolproof method, and I don't think anybody in the world has actually found a foolproof method. The number of patients that we see, I mean, I think in our medicine OPD one day we counted it was like 900 patients in a small area of, how many square feet is it, Ravikar? It's like, I think 200 square feet. So we had 900 patients. How can you control TB in a place like that? So it's not possible. What can you do in the ward? It's a little easier. You don't really need fancy negative pressure rooms. All you need is to maintain big bay windows, measure air exchanges every week. So I think our maintenance department comes and measures air exchanges every week to ensure there are minimum of 12 air exchanges per hour. In areas where there is air conditioning, it is always a challenge, yeah, I mean, you can only do what you can. You can't really do anything much more. For doctors who are directly dealing with patients, we provide N95 masks, which are actually available. Actually, most of us will carry it in our bag. I have one in my bag because I see a lot of my patients. But every workplace, like the outpatient, the isolation ward, medicine wards, all of them actually have, they stock N95 masks, which helps to prevent the healthcare worker from getting it. The patient themselves, you can't give them an N95 mask. You can only give them a surgical mask, otherwise they can't breathe. So that's the only thing we can do. It's not a foolproof. Nobody has actually found a foolproof method. So if anybody has any bright ideas, please let us know. We'd be happy to hear.
Ma'am, do you think more and more air conditioning is actually worsening the problem?
Absolutely. Air conditioning does worsen the problem. But air conditioning units, if you have a system, like for example in the aircraft, where you have adequate air exchanges, it should not actually be a problem. But most closed systems, like we have a private block where it's a closed system. So in that case, if the patient is a private patient and is admitted, we actually move them to a single room. And we then ask them to actually leave the windows open. So that is the only thing you can really do. It is a challenge in most scenarios. Abroad, because they're all centrally air conditioned, they actually have negative pressure rooms where they shift patients into that. So we cannot afford to do that.
So the window ACs and the split ACs are a major problem, right?
Yeah, window ACs, well, most hospitals will move to, I think, split ACs. Window ACs is a bit of an issue because you have to leave the window open right next to the AC. I don't know how that is possible, actually. I must say we have not really thought about it because most of our systems are actually split ACs. So.
Thanks.
Excuse me.
Really sure. I can ask Dr.D to answer. He's the institutional RSO.
Every institution should register for personal monitoring. So there will be an institution number and personal number. Suppose I am going to other institution and posted for some 1 or 2, 3 months maybe for research and everything. I am allowed to take my TLD belonging to this institution and there. You know, it's a cumulative. Finally, this my TLD report will be recorded in my account only. As long as I maintain my, I use my TLD. Understand? So TLD can be taken anywhere. But if you go out of the country, no, suppose whom to enroll in the personal monitoring. Yes. Now this report, actually there will be a regional agents. For example, ours is in Avantak, based at Chennai. So we send all TLD once in every 3 months, and it will go. They will actually measure how much dose I receive. This report will go to AERB, finally BRC. And they are authenticated to send the report to the concerned department. And if, suppose, if the person exceeded the limit, normally, CMC, our average exposure, annual dose equivalent limit for radiation is 3 millisievert. If somebody get more than 3 millisievert, then AERB will send a letter, ask the local RSO to investigate. So mostly we found genuine. For example, they just left the TLD in the working area and went for vocation. So it's not genuine. So the dose that received during occupation is the genuine. So this kind of investigation has to be done. The report has to go to AERB. Then they will take a further action. So there is one overexposure committee also set in Kalpakkam. They cover the south region. Right?
Sir, good morning all. I am coming from Venkateswara Medical College, Pondicherry. My question to all the thing about the health hazards for the health workers in a hospital. See, any health worker, he is doing a 8-hour or maximum 12-hour job in any hospital. So, apart from that, he is living in the society or at home also. As Madam said, there is noise pollution everywhere. It is everywhere. Even in my house, there is a noise pollution. That is my wife. So Madam suggested you go for a pre-employment checkup, and in the middle of the work, one checkup, and at the exit also you give a checkup. So if any person comes and says a legal question that I acquired this problem, it may be a TB, it may be a deafness, or it may be a chemical thing, due to hospital infection, how to disprove it? There is a legal aspect in this. How to disprove? It is a part of the hospital to say that.
It's a very good question. So I'll answer for the noise part of it because I also work on that area. So in noise, basically, it's for other diseases, you may go and see some outputs where you can find out, yes, the problem is there. But for noise, you cannot say that whether I am hearing or not. If I say I don't hear, you cannot disprove it in general, even by audiometry. So what we have those capacities to check out whether the answer is a false positive or a negative one or not, we have special tests for that. So once we perform this audiometry, that is the air conduction audiometry, we go for bone conduction audiometry to relieve out whether it is a conductive hearing loss or a sensory neural hearing loss. It may be both also, it's called a mixed one. So after doing it, we sometimes find that very smart people like us, who all know about noise. So we say that, no, I still don't hear, or I don't press the button and show that I am hearing. So we have some special tests like ABLB, that is ABLB and MLB, alternate binaural loudness balance test. And the second one is MLB, that is monaural loudness balance test, where we try to mask one ear and give a specific dose of pure tone on the other ear. So the chance of your saying or bluffing or misinterpreting the noise that or the sound that you are perceiving goes off. And after that also, if there is something left out, we go for tone decay test, where we give a pure sound for around 1 minute and see how much the time taken for the decay of that tone. So similarly, some tests are done masked, some tests are done unmasked. So by which we come to the conclusion that yes, now if it is true, the other time when you're doing the separate test, it's again true. So that chances is left out, and in the legal scenario, we at NIH are referred several cases from different industries, particularly because we are in the western part of the country. So there the textile mills a lot. So people from the textile mills who often report of being NIHL come to us for reference and get it fixed whether what is the noise limit they are having. In addition to that, there are several industries. In generally what we see is noise is measured in, the hearing level is measured in decibels, dB, and in dB in 5 decibel scale, that is 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, like that. But in some industries there are specific requirements of 1 dB or 2 dB differences. Like if I want to test it for if somebody is seen at 60 dB, that means he can't hear at 55 dB, but he can hear at 60 dB. But I don't know whether he exactly at what point he is. So we can test like SISI, short increment sensitivity index, where we can go for 55 to 56 to 57 to 58 to 59 to 60. So as to find out exactly at what dB he starts hearing, that is the threshold of hearing. So we can go for these special tests on the legal aspects and can sort out the problem.
We can't prove that, but
definitely we can disprove if somebody is saying wrong.
Yes, we can prove, because
it can be done.
most of the time, that is more than 12 hours he is in the society, where all these hazards are there.
Yeah.
So we can't prove, unless otherwise we give him a space suit to work in the
Well,
hospital.
No, but the new WHO guideline says it's about a worker 24-hour well-being. If he's employed, okay, the exposures that happen even after, other than accident or something, and if he's traveling in the corporate provided bus, then he's still covered. So it's about the 24-hour well-being of the worker. So if he's employed and he's covered by insurance, and then it is the responsibility of the employer to take care of him. That's what the new WHO guideline says. They don't care about if it's a wife is the noise bearer or.
But you still insist that we have to go for health checkup in pre-employment and post-employment.
It is a must.
Okay, thank you. We'll take the risk.
Did it happen during your employment period? Is what counts.
That is what my concern. So it is quite difficult. As sir explained, it's quite difficult whether it is acquired. He mentioned only about the noise. There are other
But
things
you
also.
would know that
Madam said about tuberculosis, no? Same thing may happen.
No,
Those
again,
things.
if they had a pre-employment checkup, they would know exactly what their status was. And then when they are leaving, you would know their status. Or if there is a difference in status,
Yes.
which is adverse, then the employer takes responsibility.
Okay.
And those 18 hours they are outside the employment area is still the responsibility of the employer.
Okay, yesterday, sir, Mr. Radhakrishnan, Radhakrishnan, secretary said that also, no, during his walking, somebody coughed in front of him, then said he has got TB. Something like that happens. Okay, sir, thank you.
Other 2 points are also there, sir.
Yes.
One is the ototoxic drugs. We have to check that whether the person is taking the ototoxic drugs or not. There's a number of drugs list. You just can check that one. And other is the ototoxic chemicals, whether the person is exposed to certain chemicals which are ototoxic, like carbon disulfide is itself is ototoxic chemical. So like that, those things, everything should be there in the questionnaire.
When they listed out that, different varieties of, plastics. So each and every product is being used at house also.
Yeah.
So there are all possibilities of a person coming into contact of such chemicals, plastics, noise, diseases, everything, pathogens. So how to prove it? That is my question. That's all. Okay.
The delegates, speakers will be available at the coffee counters. You could go interact with them personally and clarify your doubts. And we Ramesh to honor the speakers. Dr. Timothy Peace, who spoke to us on radiation monitoring. Dr. Priscilla Rupali, who took us through monitoring of ID. Dr. Joydeb Majumdar, who spoke to us on work-related musculoskeletal disease. Can we request the speakers to stay on the dais? Dr. who spoke on chemical monitoring. And Dr. Vidya Venugopal, who made noise monitoring so interactive today. Reginald Alex to present Dr. Naveen Ramesh with the memento.